Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible. Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today's guest is Kathy Fritz. She's a board-certified master hormone coach who helps women in perimenopause and menopause experience relief from hormonal symptoms like fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and insomnia. Her clients lose weight, rediscover their energy, feel sexy, and stop thinking they're losing their minds. Welcome, Kathy. It is a pleasure to have you.
Oh, likewise, Irina. Hello to you and your listeners.
Thank you. So please share with us in your own words, who is Kathy and how did you come up to do what you do now?
So I had two things kind of happen. The first was when I was pregnant with my second child, I had gestational diabetes and I had only one risk factor, and that was being over 25, which this day and age, most pregnant women are over 25. So I really did not understand and felt like my body was betraying me. So that was kind of like my first kind of dipping my toe into the health and wellness space, because I was adamant that I was going to be diet controlled. I was not going to need insulin. I was successful in that. So that's what kind of started the whole process. And then fast forward a few years, and it was clear my hormones were out of whack. I was super moody. I wasn't sleeping well. My periods were wackadoo. I just did not feel like myself. And I felt very much that it was hormonal. So I went to my doctor and I said, things seem a little bit wacky. I wasn't breastfeeding anymore. It wasn't postnatal, or postpartum. I felt like I should feel better than I did. And so her response was, well, you can go on the pill and that'll help. And I thought, I think that actually shuts down the communication between the brain and the ovaries. I don't think that's the direction I want to go in. And she was basically like, well, I got nothing else for you. And that just did not sit well with me. I did not believe for a second that my only option was to go on the pill. So I started doing my own research. And that led me to the space I'm in now, which is focusing on helping women over 35 manage their hormone imbalances using food, movement, and lifestyle choices.
Awesome. And yeah, I actually had another guest, I call it, last week that we talked about this, but her issue was different. Her issue was when she was 13 and started developing pimples, and the doctor suggested go on a pill at 13 years old.
Yeah.
Like it's normal, like that's what
That's the Band-Aid. It works for everything. It's amazing.
Yeah, how crazy is that? And that kind of your personal journey led you to, there gotta be some other answers out there. And this is not everything that there is.
Absolutely. And I'm sure, the people who listen to your podcast find the same thing. There's not one approach to single parenting.
Right.
You got to find what works for you.
Yes. Yeah. So what makes you happy?
Oh, what makes me happy? Well, certainly when things feel aligned in a personal and professional place, I find that is, a kind of like a cornerstone feeling for me, is feeling like I'm aligned with my purpose, as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, and also as a business owner, an entrepreneur, as somebody who's trying to make a difference in this world. When everything feels aligned, then I feel pretty joyful.
All right. Alignment is important, and having balance, especially with everything that's going on.
Absolutely.
How do you help people?
Well, I help specifically women. So gentlemen, if you're still listening, I give you props, because you probably know a woman and you might be co-parenting with a woman who is going through this stuff. So I always like to say male listeners are welcome when I guest on podcasts, because they have women in their lives that it would be good for them to know this information. So I help women who want to use food, movement, and lifestyle habit changes to naturally balance their hormones. What that ends up being is they sleep better, they are happy with their weight, they have a sex drive. If dry vagina was an issue, that gets addressed. Their mood feels a lot more stable. And there's really a lot of things that can be hormonal. Your skin health, your hair health, your GI health, all can be related to hormones. So my clients, when they come to me, they're symptomatic. And they're usually pretty unhappy and pretty uncomfortable. And by the time we're done working together, they have reclaimed their version of health.
That's amazing. And I love the work that you're doing. I think it's very important. Educating, especially because you don't learn this in school.
Oh my gosh, right? We learn about puberty. Why don't we learn about second puberty? Come on. This is really important stuff. That's actually what I call one of my classes, is second puberty.
Right. That's good name. What advice would you give to your younger self if you had an opportunity to go back? What would you tell her?
I would tell her it's going to work out. Because there was a time where I wasn't so sure. So I used to be a classroom educator. I worked at a public school as an English teacher, and I loved it. And I thought I'd do it forever. And when I started having my babies, I was working part-time for a year, and that felt like a good fit. But the school I worked for didn't support part-time as a long-term solution. So they asked me to come back full-time, and I said no. And they said, well, we don't have a job for you then. So that was pretty scary, because I really thought that I would be in that particular career forever. So I would go back to that version of me and say, it's going to work out. Just trust.
All right. I love that advice. I think oftentimes we feel like we pick a career and we're supposed to stick with it, and we imagine ourselves being there till retirement. But as we always change, every 6 months we get new sense of values, new sense of ideas, and you're not the same person who picked that career. Now
Right.
you're so different, and it's okay to try things out. It's better to try things out, having learn the experience, than to just live your life, get to retirement, and then wondering, I should have done that. So
Absolutely.
having no regrets, going for it, even though it was uncertain, even though it was scary, but you figured it out and you're now helping others. That's incredible.
Well, and I feel really confident that I am doing the work I'm meant to, but there are days, where that doubt creeps in still. A little imposter syndrome rears its ugly head. And I think that's true, not just in our professional lives, but in our personal lives, especially when we're parenting and we're like, I'm kind of making this up as I go along. I sure hope I'm doing it right.
You're right. You're right. What advice can you give for single parents, as it comes from your professional, health expertise?
My number one piece of advice for all parents is don't delay on taking care of yourself, on putting your health first. If we as parents don't prioritize ourselves, two things happen. We don't get healthy or healthier, we get sicker. And we give an example to our children that it's okay not to take care of yourself. And I think both are problematic. But as we think about our role as parents and, how we are trying to raise that next generation, it's important that they get the message that not only is it okay to take care of yourself, it's part of what you just need to do. It's part of your job as an adult to take care of your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being.
Totally. And sometimes we go on autopilot, we just do. But then, yeah, we are raising future adults, and if we make it part of something natural, like we brush our teeth because we want to have good oral hygiene, you
Yes.
gotta set the time and let your kids see how you do your self-care, so they get to experience it. It's not what you say, but what you do, and whether
And
it's
one of the cool things I'm seeing, so my kids are 11 and 13, and one of the cool things I'm seeing is them adopting some of the self-care practices I have for myself, for themselves. And I can give you an example. I love a good Epsom salt bath. So the kids know, like, if it's bath time, you don't bother mom. Like, she is in her zone and she'll be really mean to you if you come in. I wish that weren't the case, but hey, it is what it is. So now when my kids are feeling really unregulated emotionally, they will say to me, Mom, can I take a bath? And sometimes they're unregulated and I'm unregulated and we're in it with each other. And they now are old enough that they can actually pause and say, Mom, can I take a bath? And that resets them and it resets me. So if we've been, butting heads, they now have this tool that they can go to, and it helps them just, reset in whatever way they need to. And it also, allows me that time and opportunity to reset, even though I'm not the one in the tub. A little time and space do magical things. And truly, this just happened last night. So that's why that example is fresh in my mind.
I think it's very, very good example, and good idea to teach our kids. My son sometimes, I don't know if it's also started taking bath. I need to take a bath.
Interesting.
Not with Epsom, just regular.
Okay, well, the warm water does it too.
Yeah. I think I love that. Do you have any other personal favorite self-care tools that you do for yourself?
Oh, I'm big into self-care because if I'm going to teach it, I better practice it. So I have daily self-care habits that are non-negotiable. The first is in the morning, I have some quiet time. I usually listen to a podcast and do some journaling. And again, sometimes the kids have a quick question. They know that's allowed, but if it's a long drawn out thing, you wait until mom's done. It's just non-negotiable. Another thing is daily movement. I am a big tennis player and paddle tennis player. So those are fun, but also walking. Walking is so good for us. We genetically, walking is good for our genes. It's what our bodies expect in a lot of ways. So that is some sort of movement's really important. And I literally get heart palpitations if I don't move my body. It is like such a clear signal from my hormones and my body that, like, okay, yeah, I know you skipped this yesterday. You can't today. It's just, this isn't going to get better until you do something. So that's another, reason it's non-negotiable, is because I know it won't feel good.
Yeah.
So those are two pretty big and very much daily habits. And then I have additional tools I use as needed, like the Epsom salt bath. I love essential oils. So I have a few different essential oils that are my go-to depending on, how I'm feeling. And for me, I'm an extrovert, so I know I need time with friends. That in order to recharge, it truly has to be my friends. It cannot be my husband. He's wonderful, but that is not, and I certainly need time with him, but when it needs to be this kind of self-care time, it needs to be with a select group of women that I rely on for that support.
I love that. That's awesome. And it allows you to create that mental clarity and balance that you were seeking before.
Yes.
To have that in your life. I love that. I love walking as well. I believe our bodies, like you said, were designed to move. And I think through pandemic, we discovered a lot of sitting in front of screens.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. What's other than walking, what's one of your favorite self-care habits?
Singing. Doing something that sets your soul on fire, something that you love.
That's beautiful. I like to sing too. What do you know?
Quiet time in the morning, especially meditation,
Mm-hmm.
reading, listening to podcasts. When I walk, I listen to the podcast or an audiobook.
Mm.
Those are some of my daily ones. I miss taking bath. Hopefully soon. And doing something that sets your soul on fire, I think is an important something for you to look forward to. So for me, it's singing. It's doing something for 10 minutes or more at a time.
Yeah.
I actually wrote about it in 10 Minutes of Joy. I called it habit. In a book that recently came out, was called Total Health. It was a collaboration between all the different coaches where people were sharing different tools for either mental or physical, emotional health. So this was my little contribution in there.
And I love that because you identify it as what sets your soul on fire. So if you're listening and you don't like baths, don't take a bath to take care of yourself. You're going to get annoyed. You're going to get bored. But you said what sets your soul on fire, and that is absolutely true.
Yeah. Yes. What is your superpower if you had to pick one?
Ooh, I think it's my optimism. I'm very much, the glass is actually totally full. You just can't see half of it kind of person. I really take most things, from a lens of joy. And I think it really creates my reality in an incredible way. It doesn't mean stuff doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that I don't get sad or angry or upset. But I am able to not get stuck in those emotions. Like, I think a lot of people sometimes, kind of get bogged down by those very real, very human, very normal emotions that we all have. I think my lens that I see the world through is one that really helps me to approach life in a very joy-filled way.
And I think it is important to have, because constantly we are bombarded. We have negative news, we have negative people, we have negative circumstances, and it is how you approach life. If you approach life with optimism, I think your life will turn out much better, because
I
what you
agree.
focus your attention, it expands and it makes your life easier.
Absolutely.
You become the light bulb in your family instead of being the distractor. You bring joy to everywhere you go.
Absolutely. I mean, our thoughts create our reality.
Yeah. What was the smallest thing you've done that had the biggest impact in your life so far?
Ooh, the smallest thing I've done that has had the biggest impact. That's an interesting question, Irina. I've never been asked that before.
Yay.
Yeah, that's very creative. Well, perhaps it is starting that self-care habit, because it should start small, right? If you want to get to that 10 minutes of, intense soul-filled joy, it has to start small. And so I would say I went through some of my daily self-care habits. That's not how I started. It started with just saying, okay, what would really help me to feel cared for? And what can I do every single day? What can I commit to doing every single day? And it has become what I shared earlier in this interview. So I think that might be it, because it did start small and it's become this very life-giving way of life.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the things we take for granted, like breathing. Maybe and there is a way, like they have the whole breathe science, how you're supposed to take your breath and how you're supposed to feel, or walking or doing something so literal that we take for granted for nothing, and it could be the thing that changes your life. For me, how my recovery after my breakup started was by me taking a simple walk.
Nice.
And you don't think of it at the time as small. It's only when we live some time and we can look back and trace back the dots to understand when and what led you to where you are today.
Yeah, that's a fun question. It's very reflective.
Yeah. What is next for you? What do you want to create? Any fun projects you're working on that you like to share?
Yeah, I'm really, I want to work with even more clients. I've had a pretty steady level of practice, and I'm ready to kind of up that level of practice. Um, and I don't know exactly what that's going to look like right now. You know, I do have a one-to-one program, and that's my favorite, but I also have a membership, so I don't know if that's going to evolve. So kind of open to seeing where the spirit leads me. But I see more impact for myself, more impact on more women.
I love that. I think that's great. As you always, evolving and developing and learning new things, what you like and how you want to change.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is there anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
So for any of your listeners who are in fact perimenopausal or menopausal, I just want you to know that you're not alone, that there are so many women having this midlife experience that is challenging, no matter what the life circumstances are. I know most of your listeners are single parents, so that adds, another layer of stress and challenge. So I would just say, remember that you're not alone and that there is help. When you're ready for it, you can ask and you will receive it.
Yeah, you're so totally right. Did you have a hero growing up?
My mom has always been my hero. She
And
continues to be my hero.
what is the best quality that you want to emulate?
Her strength. She is the strongest person I know.
I love it. That's awesome. If people would like to connect with you or learn more about you, where would they go?
You can go to my website, Kathy Fritz Coaching. That's Kathy with a K, Fritz, Fritz, coaching.com. You can find me on Instagram at Kathy Fritz Coaching. And I also welcome anybody that is perimenopausal or menopausal that feels like they need some hormone help. You can set up a free coaching call, and I can hear more about what's going on for you and tell you how I might be able to help you reclaim your health and what your vision is for your health.
Thank you. And we will include everything in the episode notes so people can directly connect with you. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your wisdom, sharing your story. And I love the work you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina.